Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope all students are okay. That's very good. Great. And I hope that there is no feeling of being tired. That's good. Well, now you can understand that we are in the middle of our semester and we have tried our level best to understand what is phonetics. At the same time, we try to touch phonology, of course, English phonology. Since this is the middle of our semester, that's why I think it's very important to understand what we have done so far. And that's why I felt it convenient to present before you all the important diagrams and at the same time the tables, which are very important to understand the consonant and vowel sounds of English. By this time, I also expect that all students are very much working hard, and at the same time you have prepared your folders. Because I told you that when you create your folder for this particular course, that means that on the daily basis or whatever we do, or I ask you when I talk about the self-assessment component of each session, that means that you are generating self-understanding for the things we do during a session. That's why it is very important that you have to refer to your folders what you have done so far, or rather what we have done so far. Let me tell you that by the end of this semester, this folder is going to help you a lot. Maybe it's the midterm exams, maybe you're engaged in writing some sort of assignment, or maybe it is the end term examination. So all these things are very important for you. That's why I try my level best to emphasize on the creation of a folder, which definitely is in other words, it's a way to generate your wonderful understanding about this particular course, that is phonetics and phonology. I also expect that you have generated some sort of self-concepts regarding phonetics and how to understand what is phonetics. But at the same time, there are certain things which we have done during the sessions, and I'm sure in the light of those things that you are capable now to say what is phonetics and what are the concepts behind phonetics which govern this particular branch of linguistics. Okay? So let's see what we are going to do today. My dear students, our today's session is session number 15, and now we are in the 8th week of our semester. Our today's topics are, which we need to understand. First of all, we shall try to understand what is the world of linguistics with reference to phonetics and phonology. Then we shall be talking about some important diagrams, definitely regarding speech organs. And then the third thing is the important tables, of course. These are the tables which reflect all the consonants and vowels. And I think during the last 14 session, I think you have tried to develop your understanding regarding these tables and these diagrams. But I think it's quite convenient and pertinent to talk about all these diagrams and tables. But before we start anything, let's understand what is linguistics and what is the world of linguistics generally. The slide which is in front of you is very important in the sense that we have to understand what is linguistics. It matters very least that what kind of branch of linguistics you are studying nowadays. But first of all, what we need to understand is that what is linguistics. You can see, for example, at this time in front of you there are 8 branches of linguistics. Of course, there are other branches. But in the middle of this slide, you can see linguistics is the study of human language. That is the outcome of all the branches and all the world of English. All the world of English linguistics. It's very important to understand that all the branches are coordinating all the time. Okay? Now, what is the outcome of linguistics? In one line, we can say linguistics is the study of human language. Now, whatever the language is, we are not particularly talking about English or whatever the language is. Since we are engaged as students of English language and linguistics, that's why I'm talking about or I'm referring to English language. For the time being, we can say, all right, since the branches we are talking about are phonetics and phonology. At the same time, the other branches you people are studying nowadays, or maybe you have read, and I'm sure that in the coming semester you shall be talking about some of the other branches of linguistics. I hope you remember when we were trying to understand phonetics, we talked about certain other disciplines. For instance, physiology, physics, anthropology, archaeology, history, neurology, all these disciplines, and of course the branches of learning, they are supporting the branch of linguistics that is known as phonetics. That means we need to understand that what is the role of all these branches of learning when we are talking about phonetics. Of course, you remember we had a discussion on the role of physiology. For example, when we talk about the articulatory phonetics, I hope you can understand that how the speech organs inside us, they work together and they produce certain speech sounds. Before that, I think you were not conscious about the role of physiology, or maybe the role of anatomy, or maybe the role of physics, the way you people are now understanding or you have understood. Similarly, it's very important to understand that what linguistics talks about and what are the branches. In fact, you can say the main tree, that is linguistics, and then the branches are there. This time you can see 8 branches, for example. Okay, let's talk about phonetics first of all. We know what is phonetics now. You understand the concepts behind phonetics. And then if we talk like this, that linguistics is the study of human language, that means psycholinguistics is one of the branches. Psychology plus linguistics. Now the same way, for example, within phonetics what happens, there are certain other branches, of course, like physiology or physics or anatomy or anthropology. When they are coordinating, we are taking assistance from the other branches of learning to understand physics. Same is the case with psycholinguistics. So psychology is very much involved. For example, if you talk about innate learning, definitely that is the area that falls under the heading of psycholinguistics. Or for example, we talk about sociolinguistics. All right, there is the role of society and linguistics. I'm not talking about psycholinguistics or the details of these branches of linguistics. Simply, I want you to understand, all right, all these branches work together. And then let's talk about syntax, for example. We know that, all right, there is a morpheme because you can see morphology on the right. Right? When wherever you are sitting on your right, you can see morphology. So morphemes work together, and of course the words are generated. And the words are used in phrases and sentences. And then we have to talk about the structure. So all these words and sentences are to be used in some sort of structure. And of course, syntax is that branch of linguistics that talks about that. And then we have got the semantics. Now, what are the meanings, in fact? We have to understand the meaning, what kind of words we use, and what kind of meanings they denote or they stand for. And then pragmatics, for example, now how the language is used in the society, that's very important. Yes, exactly. On daily basis, what kind of usage we have of the language, whatever the language we are speaking. For instance, we are talking about English, how English is used. I hope you remember when we talked about the functional phonetics, functional part, of course, and when we apply this, that becomes phonology. That is, of course, the area of functional linguistics. And then morphology I have already talked about. But the two branches over here, phonetics and phonology. When we say that linguistics is the study of human language, always remember we are not referring to any language or any particular language. That could be any language spoken or used on earth. That's why, while understanding phonetics, what I said to you people, and that was, try to understand that this is what happens when we are producing human language, or we are generating human language. Yes, exactly. We have to understand that what are the concepts governing to produce a sound, what kind of sound, and what is the perception of sound. Now, I hope you remember when we try to understand the phonetics, we try one liner answer is that what is phonetics? If there is a question that what is phonetics, the one liner answer is that it is the branch of linguistics that studies the production, the transmission, and the perception of speech sounds. And when we say speech sound, definitely we are referring to human speech sound. So it's very important to understand that all these branches of linguistics work together. And when we talk about phonology, always remember we are particularizing some sort of language. All right? Definitely we'll be talking about phonology from session number 16. But before that, it's very important to understand that when we talk of phonology, that means we are talking about some particular language. And the particular language we people have with us is English. But for your convenience, I've been trying to refer to English language with the remarks that since we are the students of English, that's why we are bound and compelled to talk about English and refer to certain examples which are to be taken from English language. Now, we have to separate. So far as the concepts are concerned, phonetics doesn't mean that it talks about one particular language. Not at all. It does talk about the language that is human language, whatsoever it is, right? It could be Urdu, it could be English, it could be Punjabi, whatever the language is. But when we just fall in the area of phonology, that means that we have to particularize a language, any language, right? And when we say particular language, all right, English is the language we have to study, all right? And from now on, when we'll be talking about phonology, definitely we shall be engaged in the suprasegmental phonology. That's very important to understand. Of course, from the next session, we shall be talking about that. What is that? What is suprasegmental phonology, all right? But for the time being, I thought it convenient to tell you that this is what the way is, that all the branches of linguistics, they work together. And phonetics and phonology are two branches of linguistics, right? We have tried our level best to understand what is phonetics, okay? Well, after having talked about linguistics and the branches of linguistics, we ended our discussion so far as this previous slide is concerned with phonology. All right, phonology is there. We have already talked about phonetics, right? During the last 14 sessions, we've been talking about different phonetic rules and the concepts behind this particular branch of linguistics. Now, phonology is with us. You can see it is one of the branches of linguistics. It is a branch of linguistics. But at the same time, what we need to do is that we have to understand the branches of phonology. The time has come that now we have to talk about, first of all, to understand further what is phonology. We must remember the way we talked about the branches of phonetics, and we try to understand phonetics in the light of three branches, and they are articulatory phonetics, acoustic phonetics, and auditory phonetics. At the same time, we also talked about the functional aspect of phonetics. Today we are with us, in front of us rather, branches of phonology. And we have got two branches. One is the phonetics, the other one is the phonemics. I repeat, we have phonetics and phonemics. So far as phonetics is concerned, my dear students, you must remember it is primarily based on production of speech sounds, and definitely that is the articulation. The word articulation is very important to understand. Time and again, I made a request that it is very important to understand the articulatory aspects of phonetics, because once we know, the major part is played by articulatory phonetics. Why? Because the speaker is supposed to be using the speech organs the way they should be used in the production of any speech sound. And then, of course, it is very much attached with acoustic phonetics, because, for example, if I'm using the sound fur, I should be knowing, and my listener should be knowing, that speaker is touching the upper teeth with the lower lip, all right, or the lower lip is approaching towards the upper teeth. That's very important. And then we can produce the sound f, right? So articulation is the main area so far as phonetics is concerned. Of course, that is production of speech sound. The other branch of phonology, of course, is phonemics, the function, the functional aspect of any language. But now we have got English, of course, phonology of English we are talking about, all right? Within phonetics, we have got three branches, as I told you. You can see on your screen, acoustic, that talks about the properties of speech sound; auditory, that talks about the perception of speech sound; articulatory, to produce the articulation. But so far as phonemics is concerned, and now we are very much concerned with phonemics, the functions. What is the function of language? Of course, a particular language. And now we have got English with us. Okay? Now let's start understanding speech organs. You have seen many diagrams during the during the proceedings over 14 sessions. But this time I want you to recall each and everything. And now please try to focus on this slide. Not only this slide, but you can talk about the lungs. But before talking about lungs, it's very important to understand that there are other parts, other organs inside our body which are supporting lungs. Of course, the ribs cage and then diaphragm. I hope you understand, close to abdomen, because they are pushing our lungs to pump the air outside, I mean upward. And then what happens, we can see the vocal cords, and of course larynx is there. Vocal cords very important. And this windpipe, of course, the pharynx, and then inside the mouth, it's very important to understand. We have got what we see. We can see the lips and sometimes teeth and sometimes tongue. But inside we have got two cavities. One is the oral cavity, the other one is the nasal cavity. As you know that there are certain sounds which are produced through nasal cavity. For example, m, n, and ing, they are known as the nasal sounds. But most of the sounds are produced through the root of oral cavity. And so far as the oral cavity is concerned, we have got what inside? Inside we have got teeth, tongue, and alveolar ridge. Alveolar ridge has got two parts. One is the hard palate, the other one is the soft palate, and this is also known as velum. And then we have got uvula. As I told you, that if you stand in front of the mirror and open your mouth, you can see one piece of flesh that is hanging inside the mouth. Okay? Now each and every human, speech organ is playing its role. Whether it's nasal cavity, whether it's alveolar ridge. But remember, we have two types of articulators. One type is the active articulator, the other one is the passive articulator. Now, so far as the active articulators are concerned, tongue is the most active articulator. And of course, after tongue, what we are having is the lower lip. But there are certain passive articulators, for example, the entire ridge, teeth, uvula, soft palate, and then we have got vocal cords, we have got flaps over there. So this is what you have to understand. What is the role? What are, first of all, the speech organs, and what kind of role each and every speech organ plays during the production of speech sound. Okay? This is another way to understand speech organs. Right? Now the speech organs are better explained. For example, you can see on your left, teeth, upper and lower lip, alveolar ridge, and then you can understand there are two parts of alveolar ridge. And these parts you can see on your right, hard palate and soft palate. And then we have got uvula. But the most important thing is that we have to understand the formation of tongue. Our tongue has got primarily four parts when we talk about speech sounds. For example, the tip of the tongue is there, the front is there, the center is there, and the back of the tongue is there. And then we have got glottis. Now these are the things you must be knowing. For example, what sound I am producing. If I am producing bilabial sound, what speech organs play their role at that time. If I am producing, for instance, labiodental sound, what speech organs are involved. When I am producing dental sound, what speech organs are involved, and what is the role of active articulator and what is the role of passive articulator or passive articulators. So this is what is the way out to understand the entire working of speech organs which work when we produce certain speech sounds. All right, now you are conscious that what is the role, because before that we never tried to think about these things. We were unconscious because we were speaking, but now you speak with a purpose, and you know. If somebody is asking you theoretical basis, on the theoretical basis I'm saying that now you are capable of telling, for example, what is a dental sound, what is a labial dental sound, what is alveolar, what is glottal sound. So you can better tell why it is glottal. For example, you can say ha is a sound that is glottal, because you know the concept behind that. It's very important to understand the concepts which are governing the rules, which are the governing rules of phonetics. Okay? Well, after having seen two previous slides based on speech organs, we are left with three primary areas. In our mouth, we have got three primary areas. So you can say we have got three headings. One is the oral cavity, next is the nasal cavity, and then is the larynx. You can see that under these headings there are different speech organs working, right? You can see that, and this, the courtesy for this slide is Bang Tiong. Now you can understand on your left, oral cavity. Now what are the areas, in fact, what are the speech organs working under the heading of oral cavity? And what are these? I repeat, we have three areas. One is the oral cavity, the second is the nasal cavity, the third one is larynx. Now let's see what are the speech organs working under this heading that is called oral cavity. The first one is the teeth, of course, upper and the lower teeth. Then we have got lips, upper lip and lower lip. And the third we have is the tongue, which has got four parts, at least four parts. The tip of the tongue, the front of the tongue, middle of the tongue, that means center of the tongue, and of course the back of the tongue. And the fourth part is the jaws. Two jaws are all the time working. This time I'm talking to you, and of course the oral cavity is very much active. And then we have got nasal cavity. The second heading is nasal cavity. Now it's very important that under nasal cavity, the alveolar ridge, in fact, that's very important. Okay, and we have got hard and soft palate, two parts of alveolar ridge. Then we have got pharynx and epiglottis. Then the third heading is larynx, right? All right, I cannot say the oral cavity is the important area, or I cannot say that nasal cavity is the important area and larynx is the most important. No, not at all. I am saying equally all these areas are very important, because inside them each and every speech organ is working wonderfully. So we can see under larynx we've got vocal cords, esophagus, definitely, that is the trachea and esophagus, the food pipe, and then we have got lungs. So you can understand, starting from lungs and till our lips or nostrils, the complete world is inside us. So it is very important to understand the importance of each and every part, whatever it is, the main areas, and then within main areas what are the speech organs work. Because without understanding the working of, as a student of phonetics, remember, whenever I say that it is very important, or these are the things very important, as a student of phonetics, that's very important for me, that's very important for you. All right, you must try, and this is the most important diagram, one of the most. You should be knowing what is oral cavity area, and you must be knowing what is nasal cavity area, and you must be knowing what is larynx area, and within these areas you should be knowing what are the speech organs work. Okay, now let's check this out. This is what our mouth is inside the oral cavity. Definitely what happens, this is the most important thing, most important part, most important articulators in, because the speaker is not the listener is not concerned with this, that how your different speech organs are working, but speaker is very much conscious about this, that how I am using each and every speech organ. Now you can see inside of your oral cavity now what's going on. You've got lips, you've got teeth, upper teeth, lower teeth, and then you can see uvula. Can you see it now? This is what time and again I requested you, that you have to stand in front of the mirror. Please open your mouth and try to see. There is uvula. There is a piece of flesh hanging. Each and every speech organ is working. Remember, this uvula is very important because it directs the air to go which way. And you can see the soft palate, you can see the hard palate, you can see the tongue, different parts of tongue, you can see molars, you can see everything. This is what is the entire world of our mouth inside. So for the production of speech sounds, remember, these are the parts which primarily, we come across. Why? Because as a speaker, when I'm talking to you, I know that what kind of sound I'm producing and how I'm producing, because I know the concepts behind phonetics. So same is the case with you people. When you try to understand your oral cavity world, you should be knowing how my lips are moving, how my tongue is moving. Okay? But for this time, I want you to, you have to go in front of the mirror, and I want you to open your mouth and try to see what is the world inside you have. Okay? Well, after having seen the inside of our mouth, I think it's important to understand the respiratory system. Since we are talking about the important diagrams and of course the tables, which I said in the beginning that we need to understand them, because we are in the middle of our semester. So that's why it's very important to have a look what in fact is the respiratory system. Remember that there are two types of respiratory tracts. One is the upper, the other one is the lower one. Now in front of you, you can see two diagrams or two photos. On the right side, what you have to understand first of all, that what is upper respiratory tract. First of all, always remember that when we are talking, when we are speaking, as I am talking at this time, at the same time I am engaged in respiratory system, and at the same time I'm talking to you, at the same time I'm producing sounds. Definitely I understand that what is the mechanism of the production of speech sounds. So for your understanding's sake, it's very important that we must understand there are two tracts, in fact, so far as the respiratory system is concerned. One is known as the upper respiratory tract, which is on the right side where you are sitting, and the other one is the lower respiratory tract. So far as the upper respiratory tract is concerned, we have got three dimensions over here. One is the nasal cavity, the other one is pharynx, and the third one is larynx. And you can see in the diagram that the arrows are pointing towards the area where these speech organs or these areas are present. You can see nasal cavity on the top, of course, and the ending spot of nasal cavity is the nostril. And the second one is the pharynx, definitely after larynx. And I hope that you understand what is larynx. Of course, that is what we call the vocal folds, or here we find the vocal box, which plays a pivotal role in the production of speech sounds. The second one is the lower respiratory tract, which you can see. Of course, trachea is there. I'm sure that you know that is some sort of spiral type of pipe. Okay, and then there is a primary bronchi, and then we have got the lungs. Okay, so lungs, in fact, the major storehouse of the airstream, and definitely it pushes the air upwards, and which definitely by passing certain stages, of course primary bronchi and trachea, and of course it enters into the world of larynx. That is a place where we know that the sound is processed, in fact, and when air is sent to the nasal cavity or maybe the oral cavity, always remember at that spot different speech organs are playing their role. Now on your left you can see whatever is written over there. On the right side you can see on your left side, right, you can see what is the process when we produce speech sounds, that where it takes its origin and what are the speech organs. I mean, broadly I'm saying, so these are the places, these are the big instruments, in fact, inside our body, which are playing all the time wonderful roles. And then finally, when after passing the stage of larynx, what happens if the sound is to be produced through the oral cavity? All right, the airstream goes there. But if the sound is to be produced through the nasal cavity, of course the air is definitely going to that direction. Okay. Well, dear students, I hope you remember when we were trying to classify the consonant sounds, I presented before you some tables. Of course, this is one of them. And this is the most important table, for which I said, all right, you must remember as a reference table, because whenever it is asked, you must be remembering this table. All right, this is how we classify the consonant sounds. Okay, so we have got 3-column table this time. On the top it is written classification. In the second column we have articulators, which are involved in the production of speech sounds. And what are the speech sounds? Of course, under the examples title, you can see those are the these are the sounds which are produced when the articulators are behaving like that. So let's start with the first one. The first one is bilabial class. Bilabial class. Two speech organs are working, the upper lip and lower lip. Yes, exactly, they are closed. And the sounds produced are p, b, m, w. I repeat, the first class is bilabial class. The articulators involved are upper lip and lower lip, and the sounds produced are p, b, m, w. The next class is dental. Dental. The articulators involved are teeth and tip of tongue. Teeth and tip of tongue. The sounds produced are th, the. I repeat, the name of the class is dental. The articulators involved teeth and tip of tongue. The sounds are th, the. The next class is labiodental class. Labiodental. The articulators involved are lower lip and upper teeth. The sounds produced are f, v. I repeat, name of the class is labiodental. Name of the articulators are lower lip and upper teeth. The sounds are f, v. The next is alveolar. The articulators are alveolar ridge and tip and blade of tongue. The sounds are t, d, s, z, n, l, r. I repeat. Name of the class is alveolar. The names of the articulators are alveolar ridge and tip and blade of tongue. The sounds produced are t, d, s, z, n, l, r. Next is platealveolar. Hard palate, of course, alveolar ridge and tip, blade and front of tongue. The sounds are ch, j, j, sh. I repeat. The name of the class is platealveolar, hard palate alveolar and tip and blade in front of tongue. And the sounds produced are ch, j, j, sh. Next is platal. The articulators involved are hard palate and front of tongue. And the sound is y. I repeat. Name of the class is platal. The names of the articulators are hard palate and front of tongue, and the sound produces y. Then is velar. Velar. Soft palate and back of tongue are the articulators. The sounds produced are k, g, ing. I repeat. The class is velar. Soft palate and back of tongue are the articulators. The sounds produced are k, g, ing. And the final is the glottal. Glottal. Articulators are glottis, of course, vocal cords. And the sound is h. Sound is h. I repeat. Name of the class is glottal. Vocal cords are used over here, and the sound produced is h. Now look at the next chart. I will not spare more time over here. Over there we were talking about the articulates involved. Here we are talking about the structure involved. Let's start. The name of the class is stop. Complete closure. The sounds are p, b, t, d, k and g. The next is affricate. Closure, then slow separation. The sounds are ch, j. Attached with it is the fricative class. Narrowing resulting audible friction. And the sounds produced are f, v, th, the, s, z, sh and j. The next is nasal. Complete closure in mouth. Air escapes through nose. And the sounds produced are m, n, ing. The next class is lateral. Closure in the center of mouth. Air escapes over the sides of tongue. And the sound produced is l. Next one is frictionless continuant. Structure involved. Slight narrowing, not enough to cause friction, and the sound is r. The next class is semi-vowels or semi-consonants. Structure involved is slight narrowing, not enough to cause friction, and of course w and y. W and y. All right. Well, after having talked about classification of consonants, and then after having seen two important charts, and the first chart is very important, sorry, that a table. So two tables, and of course before them we try to understand the respiratory system, and we try to understand the upper and the lower respiratory tracts. And before that we try to understand the speech organs and the working of speech organs. Now let's talk about the vowel sounds. This is what you have to understand, that remember, the vowels world is not like consonants world. Consonants either voiced or voiceless, but when you talk about English vowels, remember all English vowels are voice sounds. That's very important to understand. We had a discussion on this, and we had long discussion on this. We tried to understand what is in fact behind this, that one is the front, central, or the back vowel sound. Now you can see that if you try to produce the sound, any vowel sound, for example, say, you can understand that sometimes your mouth is sort of closed, sometimes it's half closed, sometimes it's half open, and sometimes it's open. For example, if I produce the sound E, a long vowel sound, you can understand it. And if I say eh, again you can have the front vowel sound like this. And if I say ah, so some vowel sounds are front vowel sounds, some are central, and some are back. Of course, inside the vocal folds, remember the voice box, it's very important to understand that we don't have to use the speech organs the way, for example, we are using the speech organ when we are producing consonant sounds. Okay, over there we have to understand the structure involved and the articulators involved. Here, remember, it depends upon the position of our mouth. That means what is the position of our lips, so they allow to go the sound outside our mouth. Okay, now for example, you can look over here at the bottom. There are long vowel sound, and then we have got short vowel sound. Long vowel sound, this is what I told you, there are 5 long vowel sounds in English. Do you remember? Can you repeat after me? What are they? Yes, exactly. E, R, O, U. Yes. And you can understand by simply saying, all right, we have got some colons in front of them, so that is the symbol of a long vowel sound. So you should be knowing what is the front part of our mouth, or front position of our mouth when we produce a front vowel sound. What kind of sounds are produced when it is central, such as turn, burn, third, first, earn, learn, or mud. All right, blood. So what is the position of back? So this is the way that you have to determine which sound is a front vowel sound, which one is central, and which one is a back vowel sound. Okay, I'll elaborate the British chart afterwards. Okay, now this is the British vowels phonetic chart in front of you. You can see it now. On the top you can see front, central, and back. Some of the sounds, always remember, they are in between front and central. For example, if you produce a sound E, that is a front vowel sound. And again, if you just produce get, met, threat, many, but in between E and we have a sound that is I. That is why it is written, it's near front. It's near front. For example, there is a sound I told you, and I had a discussion on this, that is known as schwa. Schwa. That is absolutely a central sound. Absolutely a central sound. About, against, teacher, father, mother, brother, sister. All right? Particular. So that is a central, absolutely central. But close to central, we have got another sound that is but that is also a central sound. All right? For example, when you talk about back, if the back sound is ooh, in between ooh and o, in between ooh and o, what we have ooh and ah, but they are known as back vowel sound. Always remember, they are near back. Now what happens if you see on the left side of your screen, I mean in front of your left side, you can see close. When I say close, near close, close mid, I'm talking about the mouth. And if I say mid, it's open mid and near open and then open. Sometimes our mouth is absolutely open, sometimes near open, sometimes open mid, and sometimes close, sometimes near close, and sometimes close mid. Always remember, what you need to do is that you should be knowing what is the front vowel sound, what is the central vowel sound, and what is the back vowel sound, or what are these: front, central, and back. Definitely, maybe at a later stage you can understand when you become a good speaker and you know what is English pronunciation, and you practice a lot English pronunciation. When you try to understand in the connected speech, then it's okay. At a later stage you can just grasp the near concept. All right, near front and near back. Is it clear? All right, very good. Well, dear students, before we talk about the self-assessment component of this session, I think it's very important to talk about what we have done so far, because we are in the middle of the semester. It's very important, so far as my personal point of view is concerned, that we by and by we should try to recall the things which we do in a particular session or the sessions we have had before this. Always remember, I told you, you have to recall, or you have to start recalling what I said in the beginning when I started talking about, in the first session I started talking about phonetics and phonology. I still remember I had a talk with you people when I was saying that is one of the technical courses in my point of view. Maybe there could be some sort of some sort of disagreement. Maybe some of my colleagues, they do not agree with me, but I have my own opinion, and my opinion is that it is technical in the sense because it is involved, or it gets a spoken version of the language involved. It's very important, you know, that spoken version is primarily, that is not focused in our society. I'm talking about English language. You might have seen, despite all the efforts, there are rare chances, that there are rare places where we can have English speaking environment. It's very easy to announce that, all right, the system is in English, but remember, unless until we try to generate some sort of English speaking environment, the things become difficult so far as the learning of phonetics and phonology is concerned. And that's why, considering these very points, I talked about, number one, that phonetics and phonology both are little technical in the sense that you have to understand the concepts behind what? Behind the production of speech sounds. At the same time, the speaker is supposed to be knowing that how I am producing sound, what kind of sound I am producing, and what in fact could be the reception part of the listener. Because most of the important thing is that the listener is the primary focus. For example, you are the primary focus for me at this time, and not only for me, for every instructor who is engaged in talking to you virtually. Now, you have seen what I have done during these 15 sessions, that I tried my level best to speak in English, and maybe one or two, or maybe a couple of examples required when I had to give you some words of Urdu language, right? But what happened, I didn't try to bring any other language except English. That's the number one rule. If you want to start writing good English, and if you want to speak good English, remember you have to start thinking in English. That's very important rule in my point of view. I may be wrong. Two, I'm not talking about some other courses, but I'm particularly concerned with phonetics and phonology. To grasp phonetics and phonology, although it's not easy in the beginning, but I'm sure that by this time you people are now enjoying, and it was my belief. I still remember that I put one objective before me, and that is that after the completion of this course, my students, of course, and learners will be saying, yes, I love phonetics. Now I presented that slide because of a reason, and the reason was because we have to pick up the course in such a way that it should not be only listening. All right, you might have seen, for example, that I tried my level best to stop you because you've got the access afterwards, after the class, to listen to me again and again. You can stop me, you can take a pause, you can have a cup of tea, and then you can start writing, and you can have the access to a certain type of material. That makes no difference at all. You can, and you should. But at that time, when the activity is done during the session, that means that a lead is given to you. All right, you can think about such more activities when you are free and you are just working alone. So that's why I tried my level best to bring certain activities. I wanted to work with you. And one more thing I still remember. I told you, and to be very honest and fair, I tell you again that I always take I always consider that my students are sitting in front of me, because without this visualization, or without this concept, I think the things become, or maybe the things could have become harder for me to talk about phonetics and phonology. So I always think that, all right, you people are sitting in front of me and you are engaged. This is my humble request. When you are listening to the demonstration, particularly I'm talking about my own demonstration, this phonetics and phonology, think that I am sitting in front of you, or I'm standing in front of you, rather standing in front of you, I'm moving around, I'm talking to you, I'm trying to get you people engaged, and I'm getting you involved in some sort of activities. This is very good concept. I don't know that what could be the possible fruits of this kind of concept, but I have the concept. As I told you, that I am little optimistic man, and not little, but I am optimistic man, and I trust your talent. That's why time and again I feel that you are self-motivated students. I know you have got the talent inside you. I know you can use it, and especially always remember, when there are hard times around you, the best of the best talent is produced. This is my belief. During the hard times, the best of the best talent is filtered. So since you people have got talents, you know how to speak English, you know how to write English, and good English, but this is the time that you have to prove it. Remember, from session number 16, we shall be jumping into the world of suprasegmental phonology, and over there, the concepts we have tried to learn, we have to apply those concepts to our learning. The things will be a little difficult, little different, but they are really something to enjoy. This is what I've been enjoying. I honestly tell you that I enjoy a lot when I talk to you, and I always feel that you people are in front of me, and I try to follow the natural speech, because I personally don't like the slide reading. I am more concerned with the conceptual understanding, because once you understand the concept, then it is possible that you can practice that concept concretely. And what is the requirement? The requirement is that concretization. You have to try to prove that, all right, I'm a smart graduate of this university. So the university is taking pain, and it is trying it's hard. At the same time, your instructors are really they're getting pain, and they're taking pain to record sessions in these difficult times. So I feel that you will cooperate, and I'm sure that you are such nice students that you are inclined to cooperate with the instructors. And since I'm talking about myself, I will definitely enjoy your cooperation. And now let's come back to our self-assessment component. Well, today I tried my level best to present before you the important diagrams which you need to understand, and I hope that by this time that everything is stored in your mind. And at the same time, I tried to present before you some tables containing some consonants, of course, all consonants, and of course some charts containing vowel sounds. If anything else is there, you can refer to this demonstration, you can refer to the previous demonstration, no issue. But the objective is that you should be knowing the things, you should be understanding the concepts. That's why I want you to draw all important diagrams by reflecting speech organs, number one. Number two, I want you to draw all important tables to manifest your understanding of English consonants and vowels. This is what two areas you have to talk about today. And then this is what my request is, that you have to put everything in your folder. That's very important. Session number, and then the topics, and then day, a date, whatever it is, and then save over there. But remember, saving is not the only thing you have to do. You have to read again and again, and when you read, when you complete reading, please go for writing. Okay, so I with this hope that we shall enjoy more and more, inshallah, in the coming days when we shall pick suprasegmental phonology. Till then, thank you very much from my side. Goodbye and good luck. Stay blessed.